Hello there. I was about to write a long comment and I decided to just shoot a video and finally put the rest, the long standing argument about do come bets have to roll twice versus place bets roll once. So first of all, let's start out with the starting point that most people take that make this wrong argument. They say a place bet has to only roll once in order to win, whereas a come bet has to roll twice. Obviously, it's better if your bet only has to roll once than if it has to roll twice. So that means place bets are better, right? Well, no. Saying that a place bet has to roll once versus a come bet has to roll twice is a meaningless statement. What do we mean by a meaningless statement? Let's compare it to a meaningless question. What about if somebody says, which is better, big things or little things? Which is better, going fast or going slow? That's a meaningless question. There's no way to answer it. If you're backing up your truck to hook up a trailer, you want to go slow. If you're in a race, you want to go fast. So if somebody says, which is better, fast or slow? It's a meaningless question. So the same thing goes with place bet has to roll once, come bet has to roll twice. It's meaningless. The reason it's meaningless is just like the question didn't have enough information. When you say, is fast better than slow, you need to have more information for that to be meaningful. You need to know, well, what are you doing? Fast doing what? Slow doing what? So this place bet versus come bet is equally meaningless. All right, let's explain why it's meaningless. Okay, you're saying you're claiming to compare a place bet with a come bet. If you go up to the casino and say, or the craps table and say, I would like to put $10 on a place bet. Is that going to work? Is there such a thing as a place bet? Is the dealer going to know what you're talking about? There is no such deal. There is no such bet called a place bet. In order to make a place bet, you have to tell the dealer what number you want to place it on. What about if you say, I want to make $10 on the come bet, $10 come bet? He'll do it for you. He'll say, you can do it yourself. You don't even need me. Just put the $10 on the place where it says come. Okay, so we're already getting part way to why it's a meaningless statement. There is no such thing as a place bet, so you can't say that a place bet has to hit once. All right, you'll say, okay, I agree with you. Okay, I'm with you so far, you'll say. All right, let's say place bet on the 6. Okay, that's good. That is a bet. If you go to the table and say, I want to make a place bet on the 6, then he'll know exactly what you're talking about. Okay, so now we've clarified. We're talking about a place bet on the 6. We're not talking about this imaginary bet called place bet, which doesn't exist. So, okay, so now let's go back to what you said before. Place bet has to hit once, and a come bet has to hit twice. Okay, what number has to hit once, and what number has to hit twice? Well, now we've clarified it's a place bet on the 6. So when you say a place bet only has to hit once, can it hit a 5 once? Is it going to win? No. What about if a 10 hits once? No. So it's not really accurate, is it, to say a place bet only has to hit once? You have to say what number it has to hit. Okay, so now we're saying a place bet on a 6 must hit 6 once. Okay, now we're accurate. Now we're finally said something meaningful. A place bet on a 6 wins if a 6 hits once. All right, now let's go over to the come bet. We said before that a come bet must hit twice. Well, what number does it have to hit twice? Does it have to hit a 6 twice? Well, if it hits a 6 twice, it will win. Is that the only way it wins? Well, no. It can hit a 5 twice. It can hit an 8 twice. It can hit a 6 twice. We've mentioned that. 4, 5, 6, 8, 9, 10. All those 6 numbers, it can hit twice. It will win on any one of them. It doesn't have to hit all of them twice. Just one of them. Any one of them. Now we go back to the place bet. Well, remember, it's a place bet on the 6. So only the 6 can hit once for it to win. 8 hitting once won't win. 9 hitting once won't win. And on the other side, we have a bet that wins on a 4 hits twice, a 5 hits twice, a 6 hits twice, an 8 hits twice, a 9 hits twice, or a 10 hits twice. Now, it's not so simple anymore, is it? Would you still say a place bet has to hit once and a come bet has to hit twice? We're pretty far from that, right? We've left that behind. And then there's even more to it. Is it really true that a come bet has to hit twice? Well, no. What if a 7 hits once? When you're on the come out, remember, a come bet has 2 phases. There's a first roll, and then there's the point roll. So the first roll, it can win on a 7 or an 11. So it's not even true that a come bet has to hit twice. It can hit once. It hit the 11 once and it won. What if you hit an 11, roll an 11 with your place bet of a 6? Is it going to win? No. What if it's a 7? Well, that's going to actually lose your place bet. And a come bet on that 7, if you just made the come bet, it will win. So you're talking about losing a bet versus winning a bet. And it's the other side of what you were saying before, that place bet hits once. And we've got to complete the story. There are some negatives to the come bet. A 2, 3, and a 12 will, if the first roll after you make your come bet, you're going to lose your come bet, and they won't affect the place bet at all. So there's a lot on both sides. It's both sides. My point here is not saying, well, it's obvious that the come bet is better. It is true that the come bet is better, but it's not obvious. And you should also, after hearing this, give up on thinking that it's obvious that a place bet is better. It's not obvious either way. The only way to figure it out is to sit down and do the numbers, run the numbers. And guess what? That's been done. It's been done a long time ago. What happens when they run the numbers? Well, the answer is something called the house edge. The house edge on a come bet is lower than the house edge on a place bet of 6. It's also lower than the house edge of a place bet of 8. It's much lower than place bets on the other 2 numbers, on the other 4 numbers, 4, 5, 9, and 10. A come bet is a much lower house edge than those. It's a bit lower than a place bet on the 6 and 8. And of course, lower house edge means the bet is a better bet. So I hope this has explained that it is meaningless and does not help your betting strategy to say something like a come bet has to hit twice and a place bet has to hit once. That doesn't mean anything. It's not going to help you figure out what bet is better than another. The only way to do that is to look at the tables of house edge, where the work has all been done for you, and it will tell you the lower numbers are the better bets. And this house edge is not, you don't have to be a genius to figure that out. You don't have to trust even though every site will have the same numbers for the house edge, but you don't have to trust them. It is possible to figure it out. You need to know, like, basically what you would, if you went to a course in statistics, you would probably have enough information after being in the course for 2 weeks. Or you could learn it by yourself online or whatever. It has to do with multiplying probabilities and adding them. I can show you how to do it. There's some websites that explain it. But the bottom line is it needs math. Not super complicated math, but it needs math to actually answer the question of which bets are better. And you can't just use your gut feeling where you say hitting once is better than hitting twice. I hope this has helped. Thanks.